Oh, you damn right. Recruiting never stops. And look, it's a here we go, all capital letters. Exactly. Texas OU week rolling on. Already some folks jumping in with some good chats and emojis and all that stuff. If you want to throw us a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. It is the Recruiting Hour. I'm Chad Hastings, and that guy is Jason Sukamel of orangebloods.com. Check out the 3-2-1 article each and every week at orangebloods.com. First, I'm going to flash that up right there. Remember to check out orangebloods.com for that. Jason, before we get started, I think we also need to mention the good folks at Texas Card House for a couple reasons. One, because they sponsor the 3-2-1 every single week. We appreciate them for that. The new location is ready to roll at 183 in Anderson Mill. We're going to be there this weekend. I'm going to be there. Jeff Ketchum's going to be there. We're doing a watch party at the Texas Card House. But that's not the biggest news of the week for me, Jason. I'm a little bit of a beer connoisseur. I want everybody to look carefully at this updated graphic. Beer people, pay attention.
Hold on, I'm going to go to full screen here. Okay, go for it.
The watch party and postgame show at Texas Card House. Specials start at $1.30. $1 draft beer, $2 jellyfish. Mention Orange Bloods and get $1 monthly membership and your first hour of play on TCH. If you know anything about Austin craft beer and the IPA that saved the day in 2015, you know that a $2 pint of jellyfish is stupid affordable. That's incredible. Those things are $18 a can at Moody. Okay, there you go. I think I've sold it. I think I have sold it. Can't wait.
What time are you getting there? Are you getting there at 1:30 or what time are you getting there?
It's probably gonna be in that 1:30 to 2:30 slot.
I want to find a way to get there, but I'd have to leave at halftime if I come up. So I really want to see, I don't play poker, okay, but this place sounds so badass. I want to just go there to hang out. So
I know. And Jason, yeah, and that's a perfect way to say it, Jason. We talked to him yesterday, and they want to make sure they're reiterating to everybody. You don't have to be a member to come watch the game.
Yeah, I seriously might go up there for the early game, and then right when you're coming in, Chad, I may see you as I'm walking out the exit door. But I want to go hang out, have lunch, watch this monstrous screen, dude. I want to come check that place out.
Yeah, I'm going to be checking it out this week, so you guys come do the same thing. A lot of hook'ems and hook'em emojis and all that stuff coming in. This is an interesting emoji here. I'm an old man who doesn't know much about emojis. This is just like a fist in the air, maybe? Is that what that is? I'm seeing that right? Yeah. All right. There'll be plenty of those going on in Dallas this weekend. By the way, before we get started with the Recruiting Hour, there is an update on Quinn Ewers on orangebloods.com from Anwar Richardson. I think you're going to enjoy it, Longhorn fans. Go check that out. And Jason, I also noticed that the line on the game moved again. Another hook change to 15.
Whoa,
so
okay,
whatever you believe about this game, I think you're going to get some bias towards that. If you believe this is going to be a blowout, going to minus 15 probably makes you think, oh yeah. But if you're one of those people that says the more everybody goes one way, the more I think about going the other way, Jason, minus 50, you could get Oklahoma in this game plus 15 when 9 of the last 10 have been single-digit games.
Yeah, you know what? I did Anwar's show yesterday morning, and I was like, I'm taking Texas even with that hook. And Anwar's, are you he couldn't? I was like, Texas is going to win this game. I have zero. I mean, I wouldn't say zero, but I have very few concerns about Texas losing this game. I started to do my matchups yesterday. I talked to people in Norman. I started writing them. I'll have those finished and posted tomorrow morning on Orange Bloods. Dude, it's going to take some really weird bounces for this game to be close and certainly for Oklahoma to win. So that 15 doesn't scare me, Chad. I mean, I'm kind of in that former camp that you said, hey, if you already think Texas is going to blow them out, doesn't really change much for me.
Yep. From the prediction I've got in my head that I'm going to throw out on the outsiders tonight, that doesn't scare me either. I think I'm going to end up with a number that's greater than 15. So just some thoughts as we go into this one, chapter 120. But obviously this is the Recruiting Hour, so we'll dig into some recruiting stuff. Jason, in your 3-2-1, you did a good breakdown of, occasionally you'll do this, I know, in the article where you're going position by position, taking a look at the class. And I am still focusing in on two names, and I think that's where I want to start today, because I can't come up with a bad reason. I can't come up with why it would be bad news for Texas if they get the number one defensive end and the number one linebacker in America. And right now, your prediction is they'll both end up at Texas. At this moment, neither is committed to Texas as we are recording this on a Wednesday. But I want to get your update. Let's start with Javion Hilson, number one D end in the country for many, many, many folks. We talked about him in different ways. Give us an update on Hilson. He's decommitted from Florida State. And I know you've talked about the interest that you think is there with Texas. Where are you on Hilson today?
Yeah, like you said, former Florida State commitment, former Alabama commitment. Before that, people forgot he was committed to Nick Saban at one point. So, he's on the market now. He did go to back to Florida State last weekend. He was in Tallahassee last weekend. Okay, so he's still keeping Florida State in the picture. They lost again.
Yes, they did.
Who'd they lose to? I don't even know. I've kind of quit paying attention. I know.
Oh man, you know what? I'd have to look it up.
You lost, Chad. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to assume they're going to lose every week right after they lost. Not that they're a bad program, but they lost that game badly. But so he went to Tallahassee. The week before that, he was at Central Florida. I think that was a week before that. He was supposed to come to Austin. Had to kind of change his plans. It was kind of that hurricane kind of had things kind of touch and go there for a while. So I'm expecting
Clemson, Jason.
Clemson. Okay. Yes, you're right. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm expecting him in Austin for the Georgia game next week. That he hasn't fully confirmed that, but it's kind of been talked about behind the scenes. I don't know that he has his plans 100% locked in, trying to get that confirmed. But regardless, that one, ever since he decommitted from Florida State, honestly, before he decommitted from Florida State, when Florida State started off with such a rough start to the season, I was like, okay, this one's looking better and better for Texas. Then he officially decommits. He didn't flip his commitment in a traditional sense, right? Where he just said, okay, I'm flipping from one school to the next. He decided to open it up, and he's going to see some other schools. He's mentioned, Alabama's been mentioned and a few other schools. I'm telling you, Central Florida might be one of the, if not the biggest threat for Texas. Okay, the competition, if you will.
That is so crazy to me.
It really
is. Multiple times. So that's wild.
Yeah, he took an official visit there. Like I said, he was there a couple weeks ago. I just don't see, when the dust settles, a player of his caliber winding up at Central Florida. That would just kind of seem odd to me. It's not quite like when Travis Hunter went with Dion, right, down at Jackson State, right?
Yeah, that's true. Now, Jason, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but he is a Florida kid, right, Hilson?
Yes, he's from Cocoa, Florida. Yeah, which I think's on the western side of Florida. I looked it up one time just in case. I'm like, ooh, if I ever get to go cover him, what part of Florida is that in? And I can't remember.
What you just did is where I was going. If I'm a Florida kid and I want to be maybe I want to be a badass big fish in a medium-sized kind of pond in terms of college football, but I want to go hang out in the happiest place in the world. I want Disney and all that stuff to be right there. UCF's added a lot of stuff. Like, their facilities aren't Texas level, but
they're not bad. It's like a 50,000 student school or something, right?
It's bigger than you think. They've added some stuff. I guess I shouldn't be as shocked as I'm walking myself through it. Maybe a Florida kid, getting to hang in Orlando and the family gets to come watch me and I play in the Big 12. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But when you got Texas and Alabama and the Florida States of the world in pursuit, that would still be a bit surprising, right? But who knows, man? Maybe he just marches to the beat of his own drum. But, I'm tentatively expecting him to come in for that Georgia game. Javion is saying, hey, I'm not going to decide probably until December. But it was a tough choice for him when he was committed to Florida State. When he visited Texas in June, I talked to him at the airport as he's leaving his official visit. And he basically said, hey, man, he's basically uncommitted at this point. He said, technically, I'm still committed to Florida State, but it's going to be Texas or Florida State, one of those two. So he came down to those two schools. He ended up sticking with that Florida State commitment because he visited FSU after Texas. They did a good job of reeling him back in. But I just think, Chad, now that he's officially uncommitted, I think most signs point to Texas. Why not? They're the number one team in the program. He loved them before he committed to Florida State. Texas, UCF, Florida State, and a couple other kind of fringe programs. I just think Texas makes the most sense there.
Okay, so as we continue to look at that list for the 19th, we'll keep an eye on Hilson and see if he might join the list for the Georgia game. Now, Jason, the other guy, this number 1 linebacker, Nathaniel Owusu Boateng, some just call him Woo. The great news for Texas was he was going to take his official visit in that Georgia weekend, but now that has changed. We let everybody know that last week. But you still have your prediction in and this week that he does end up at Texas. So give us the latest on Owusu Boateng, number 1 linebacker in the country for a ton of folks.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that one's me going out on a little bit of a limb, okay, or pretty thin limb, if you will. Most people would still predict him at Notre Dame. Michigan's still in play there very much. He loves Michigan. But he's got this Texas. He's never visited Texas before. So right now, you put Texas pretty far down that list, okay? But there's a couple factors here. He's got family connections. His brother played at Notre Dame. Right. If he wants to go to Michigan, is that going to ruffle some feathers in the family? Like, no, don't do that. So maybe Texas is a nice compromise option. Academically, Texas can stack up with those two schools. Texas is a better football program than those two schools right now, and it's trending in a better direction than those two schools. Texas has a major need for at least one more linebacker. I mean, they can sell him like, listen, you come here, you got a good chance to play as a true freshman potentially. You can be what Anthony Hill was for us and, be a freshman All-American even. So I just, I'm kind of looking into my, crystal ball, trying to predict the future. I guess to some degree, you're always trying to predict the future with recruiting. But with this one, I don't really have any true basis to say Texas is the team to beat. Because right now, I think most people would say Notre Dame. Just think when he visits in late November and then he decides early December, right? Texas gets to make the last impression. Now, he is going to Notre Dame, I think, in a week or two. So Notre Dame's going to have its chance. But Texas gets a chance to make the last impression right before he makes a decision. This is a big-time need recruit for Texas because I don't think they're going to get Riley Pettijohn. I don't think they're going to get Madden Faramo, the other linebacker. They need at least one more linebacker. I don't know where else they're going to go. This feels to me like one where Texas might, I don't want to say break the bank because they don't really do that, but they will make a very attractive offer in terms of NIL. And then you factor in academics, playing time, city of Austin. Hey, maybe it's a nice compromise for you and your family. No, let's get away from those Midwest schools. Why don't you come down here to Austin? I just really think Texas right now is probably a distant third, but I think that's going to change in a big way when he visits in November.
That's interesting. By the way, Jason, I don't know if he said it to you. Ketch had a great analogy the other day going all the way back. He made an Eric Winston comparison with this one because with Winston, it ended up being, well, if you're not going to Texas, if you're not going to A&M, you're definitely not going to Texas. So they had to find a compromise school. And he's thinking maybe with Owusu Boateng, if it's, well, I don't want to go to Notre Dame. Well, okay, but you're not going to Michigan. So we've got to find a compromise. And maybe it is Texas. That'll be something to keep an eye on. And so as of right now, he is scheduled for that official, the Kentucky weekend, correct?
Yeah, November, I think it's 22nd, if I look here. November 22nd, yep.
There you go. Okay, so we'll keep eyes peeled for that. And remember, signing day, you used to be early, but now signing day is basically 4 or 5 days after that last game with Texas and Texas A&M. So he would be visiting, week and a half, basically, say 2 weeks essentially from signing day. It's going to be.
And now you saw the news, I'm sure. Now they're talking about eliminating letters of intent and they've shortened the window for transfer portals. I'm like, oh my gosh, can we get? This drives me crazy. I can't keep up with all the stuff, and my work calendar is constantly changing. I'm like, damn it, NCAA, let's just get something in place and just stick with it. So
hey, at least give them something to sign because if we can't say they're signed, what are we going to do?
They said probably it'll still be basically a letter of intent, but it'll just be a contract, because now you're talking all these NIL contracts. So they'll just basically sign what will be binding financial aid or NIL contracts. So we'll still have something similar, just probably with a different name.
There you go. All right. It is the recruiting hour. We'll get into a big event from late last week that got a little talk and get Jason's thoughts on that. We are glad to see y'all in the Specs chat today. Let's get you a little Specs. If you're getting all stocked up for your watch party for Texas OU, they can help.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Yes, indeed. All right, Jason, it is always exciting when the coaches pull out helicopters. I've said before that I'm a sucker for the show of recruiting. So I can't say that on the player side and not believe it on the coach's side. I want the players to get their theater in, but this is one of those things I've always enjoyed. And frankly, it's smart. Like there's smart, time saving on this thing. If you're going to get around a big ass city like Houston or any of the big Texas cities, a helicopter is not a bad way to do it. So Sark busts out the copter late last week, visited a couple of big time places in Houston, and then hit some games. That's the other part I like. Do Friday Night Lights, right? Land at the game. I know I saw a really cool video of maybe it was you that pointed it out and you'll tell me who it is, but a Texas, maybe a commitment that scored and then pointed at Sark.
Jonah Williams made an interception.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's great, man. That's good stuff. So anything like, okay, let's scratch something off the list immediately. Everybody saw that he went to North Shore and immediately went, wait, North Shore? Devin Sanchez, one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the country. Wait, what? Huh? Anything there?
The best corner in the country, but listen, man, I'd love to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it's huge news and huge story, and let's hype it up and click that like button and sell subscriptions, Chad. But I like to think that my history with Orange Bloods, I don't try to oversell things that aren't a big story. Listen, you're in the Houston area. You better go to North Shore. I don't care if Devin Sanchez is there or not. You better go to North Shore. Not that Texas has had traditionally great success at North Shore, but they're always loaded. They've always got great prospects. So that's always a school you're going to want to hit. But when Devin Sanchez is there, you're definitely going to want to hit it. So Sark goes by and sees Devin Sanchez, who, of course, is committed to Ohio State. I would put the odds of flipping Devin Sanchez from Ohio State at 3%. I was going to say 5, but I don't even think I can go 5%. I mean, he's that locked in with Ohio State. Now, someone mentioned earlier in the week, and I need to check with Devin and or his dad, that he might come to that Georgia game. That'd be a little surprising, but even if he does, my percentages go from 3 to 6%. Okay, that would mostly just be him coming up to watch a high caliber football game. But whatever. Hey, get his butt up there, even if he has zero intent of flipping his commitment. Who knows? Something crazy could happen in Ohio State, or he might come up there and just fall in love with. Not that he hasn't been to Austin before, but So that was an interesting story that Sark went by North Shore, but I don't want to oversell it, Chad. I don't think there was a whole lot of movement there, a whole lot of relevance there, other than just saying, hey, Devin, we still love you, dude. If anything changes, our doors are wide open. The whole helicopter thing, like you said, it's fun and it makes a splash. I think Kevin Sumlin was the first one who started it, if I remember.
He's the first one I remember. The swag copter, right? In 12 and 13. Yeah. So
Sark's cruising around in some pretty sharp looking black helicopter, and then they put the SEC logo on it, like just must have slapped like a sticker on it or something. But he made some pretty interesting stops. He went and saw Jonah Williams. We talked about. He went and saw him in the morning, and then he was back for his game. We mentioned North Shore. Really interesting one. He went to Conroe to see Dorian Brew, who's committed to Oregon. Okay. He and Terry Joseph were there. My thinking on this one, and this one is me just kind of 20-something odd years of experience, because Dorian Brew doesn't talk. I've reached out to his family. I've reached out to his coaches. Nobody's really commenting. They always play things close to the vest, so it's not totally surprising. But they're not going to see Dorian Brew, Sark, and Terry Joseph if they don't think there's a pretty solid chance of him flipping. He did take a Texas official visit. This situation's different than Devin Sanchez. This is one where he did take a Texas OV. Texas is in the mix when he committed to Oregon. They've kept the lines of communication open. There's been a little bit of Texas buzz there, but it's a tough one to read. It's a tough one for me to just handicap because nobody just wants to give up any information. I think his family has made it known to everybody. Okay. High school coaches, other sources like, hey, if you talk, we're going to not be happy with that. We want things kept under wraps. So I've reached out to see like, hey, I've asked Dorian, I've asked people close to him, I've asked his parents, is he maybe going to try to come to that Georgia game, for the Texas Georgia game? Chad, I haven't received one single word of response from anybody, which is just kind of odd. If he wasn't, you'd think Dorian or his parents or somebody would be like, no, he's not going. Appreciate them coming by, but he's not going. Yeah. The fact that nobody has shot it down makes me think he might be a surprise visitor that we're going to see show up on campus next Saturday. We'll see. But Texas is still working there. They want one more cornerback. They want another cornerback badly in this class. Dorian Brew makes a lot of sense. I mean, Oregon, it's a great program and he committed there for a reason, but we'll see. Texas is trying to chip away there. Sark went by A-Leaf Hastings, where Texas commitment Smith Orogbo goes to school. Okay. Unfortunately, Smith is out for the year. He's actually today, maybe right now, having knee surgery. So he's going to be out for the rest of his senior season, which is disappointing. But I thought, yeah, that's not good. It's not like a torn ligament or anything. He said it's something he's been dealing with since his freshman year. It's kind of like a bone spur issue, but he just decided to get it cleaned up so he could be ready when he gets to Austin, and be focused on his college career. So I talked to him this week. He said, and it was kind of fun to talk to him. He's like, kind of like what you mentioned. He said he didn't see Sark land. He knew he was coming, but just the anticipation and the excitement, and people were looking at windows. But when Sark left, I go, how many people and kids were out there watching Sark take off or looking through the windows? He goes, pretty much the whole school. Like, yes, like how many times you get to see a helicopter take off from your high school, right?
It's cool. Like helicopters are cool. Jason, in the last week, we lost the great Chris Christopherson. And one of the greatest stories in music history is he landed in a helicopter at Johnny Cash's house to take him a song. Like that's one of the greatest stories ever. And a big part of it is the helicopter. They're just cool.
See, I don't think I could be a coach because I am terrified of heights.
Really?
Airplanes don't bother me one bit.
Right.
I don't know if I could get on a helicopter. Maybe I could, because like if something weird, if I'm totally enclosed, maybe. But like if I'm on an open air like gondola, I'm like, oh crap. But like so I don't know. Like kudos to Sark, man. I don't know if you could get me. You might have to like drug me up or something to get me in a helicopter. But he also
do like the Mr. T character in the A-Team and knock you out every time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Another stop he made was at Hitchcock. Okay. Which is Kelshawn Johnson, the wide receiver who's committed to Texas A&M.
Yep.
But Malcolm Simpson, the defensive lineman who's committed to Nebraska. There were some people last week who thought there was a chance Texas might offer Malcolm Simpson. They had received his transcripts. I've been looking at that. He did come up for a game. He's coming back for the Georgia game. That offer didn't happen, but it still could happen down the road. And I think Texas is playing this pretty wisely, because I think if they offer Malcolm Simpson, he's going to flip his commitment. I think he's a guy that could maybe just continue to watch him, continue to, hey, okay, keep updating us on your grades. Let's see how this goes. Maybe November, late November. I think he's a guy they could offer late and get him to flip his commitment. So, and who knows? He's coming in for the Georgia game. Maybe something happens even sooner than that. But so Sark made several stops, just kind of in that little pocket of the Houston area. But like you said, hey, you got a helicopter at your disposal. It makes it pretty easy to get to these places pretty quickly. So it's pretty cool, and the kids love it too. It's pretty cool seeing a helicopter land at your high school.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt the image of the school he's representing either. Like we talked, be Texas, be big time, be badass, and helicopters are pretty badass. Somebody threw this chat in earlier. Oh, it's our guy Money B. Never hurts to have the positive relationship in case he decides to transfer. Yeah. And Money B, that's a great way to think about it too. because, what if you'd been overly rude to Isaiah Bond way back in the day? I guess for Sark, that's a little different discussion, maybe because of the Bama connection. But, it's like you don't want to be rude to these kids, Jason, because you just don't know nowadays when it could come back around. And, some kid could remember back to, oh, yeah, Sark landed at my high school and was nice to me one day.
Well, and Sark has said that in press conferences. You don't want to burn any bridges, never, but in today's day and age of the transfer portal, absolutely. I mean, listen, guys commit elsewhere. This staff does a good job of not pressuring them necessarily, but just staying in communication with them. Hey, how you doing? How's your family? How are your grades? Hope everything's well. Hey, congratulations on committing to A&M. We were very happy for you, but just know that if you ever want to, revisit this, we're here for you. We still, have love for you. So they don't pressure guys. Like they don't put a ton of like, we need you here to flip, but they do a really good job of just keeping the lines of communication open, keeping those relationships, developing those relationships. And like Money B said, hey, why would you in today's day and age? Why would you piss a kid off when he could enter the transfer portal 6 months after he enrolls into college?
Yeah, no doubt. All right, it's the recruiting hour, and obviously we've been talking so much about October 19th with Texas. That's their next big recruiting opportunity, and the weekend with Georgia. Just a quick check, Jason, on this weekend. I asked you about it on another show this week. This is an Oklahoma home game for Texas OU. So Oklahoma will be rocking the crimson. Texas will go in the icy whites, which means it's an Oklahoma recruiting possibility. So what do we need to know about this weekend? I guess the one question a Texas fan would want to know is Fasusi going to be in the house?
Yeah, you're right. Oklahoma's the home team, so they get to invite recruits to the game. Texas doesn't get to do much of anything. To answer your question, yes, Fasusi, it will be at the game, is what he told me when I talked to him a couple weeks ago. So, on one hand, you don't get to talk to these kids. Even Oklahoma coaches don't get to talk to the kids at the game. They can't walk up to the stands and shake their hands. They can't have them on the field. They can't really not supposed to really even acknowledge them. I mean, you can go wink, wink, hey, how you doing? But you can't have face-to-face contact with them. Used to be like during COVID, they made it where you could, I think, Zoom call, FaceTime with them. Mm-hmm. I think, Chad, they've even done away with that, which is kind of weird. Like, whatever. Like now you can do it like after you leave the stadium, if I'm not mistaken. The coaches they can start calling these kids, but I don't even think they can do it like from the stadium, like a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, which is, I might be wrong on that, but I know they changed those rules up pretty quickly when coaches started doing that during COVID, excuse me. But to answer your question, yes, Fasusi will be there. He's expected to be there. And does that help Texas? Not really. Does it help Oklahoma? Not really. I mean, if Texas goes out there and just beats the doors off of Oklahoma, and then you can be like, all right, Mike, you sure that's where you want to go? Because this thing is not trending in the right direction. Right. Yeah, that's a sales pitch you can use. I haven't seen, and I haven't built up I'm not going to hit up all these Oklahoma guys and say, hey, are you going to this game as a guest of Oklahoma? But I'll look around. I'll look on our Oklahoma rival site. There's not a lot of crossover there in terms of prospects. There'll be some younger guys, I'm sure, from the Dallas area that Texas is recruiting and Oklahoma is recruiting. So more than anything, yes, Oklahoma gets to give them the ticket, but both teams kind of have the same chance to make an impression because neither coaching staff can really talk to them. You can't roll out the red carpet. So the best way you can handle this game is go out there and beat the pants off of the other team and just make a good impression that way. And your crowd's going to be louder and it's going to be more exciting, so on and so forth. So, we'll see. I'll kind of do some checking maybe for the war room tomorrow to see, okay, Fasusi, who else might be at this game that's of interest that Texas could make an impression on. But this is definitely an Oklahoma visit weekend. But for 20 years, I've always said, hey, this weekend, it's more about the football than it is recruiting.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the football, Jason, we talked at the beginning about Texas now being a 15-point favorite in this game. The money keeps coming in on Texas. Another note in your 3-2-1 this week, you have doubled down on your double prediction for rival games for Texas. A couple weeks ago, you had said you had a feeling like Oklahoma and A&M would be double-digit wins for Texas. You've doubled down this week. Give me your thoughts, obviously, on this game and then what you saw from the Aggies.
Yeah, I made that prediction, I think, after week 2 of the season. So I made it pretty early, and I said Texas is gonna beat Oklahoma and A&M by double digits, just based off 2 weeks of football. And I said, "I know it's early, like, teams really haven't played anybody." Well, A&M had played Notre Dame by that point, of course. But I was like, "I know it's early, and I'm probably jumping ahead." But I was like, what I'm seeing from these 2 or 3 teams, I guess, just look like they're on different levels. Now, um, this weekend's game, I mean, you and I both said, hey, I think Texas is going to win pretty easily. Quinn Ewers coming back, his first game back, gives you a little bit of reason for concern, maybe. Is there going to be any rust? But I just, breaking down the game, my eyes have seen from Oklahoma and Texas, I mean, there's a reason Texas is 15-point favorites. Oklahoma might be without their best receiver. One of their best running backs may or may not play. So I just think this is a game Texas should win pretty easily. If they handle their business, it's gonna be an easy win. The A&M one scares me a little bit more. And I'm sticking to my guns. I said, hey, I think Texas is going to win that game by double digits. But A&M, they played better last week. Wegman came back and played pretty well, right? But who does A&M have this week, Chad?
It's off week and then Mississippi State next week.
Okay, so we won't get to see them really tested. And their schedule sets up pretty favorably to coming down. I guess that LSU game will be interesting. But, playing in Kyle Field's going to be tough. That's a great equalizer, okay? Home field advantage, they kind of say rule of thumb's about 3 points, right? Kyle Field, it's probably 5 or 6 points. I mean, that's
what I was going to ask, Jason. What would you do if Vegas called you today and said, "What should we make the line to?" If we were going to make the line today on that game, what would you do with it?
I would probably take Texas at -7.5. I think maybe a hook there too.
Okay.
But I think Texas, just based on what I've seen from these two teams, I think Texas is a much better team. I mean, there's so many variables can go into that game by the end of November, injuries, things of that nature. But I think if both teams go in and let's just play a B- game, okay, a pretty average game, I think Texas is double digit points better than A&M. I just do think I think they are. They're better at quarterback. They're more consistent, better skill talent. If they can contain A&M's run game, I think Texas wins that game pretty easily. Now, I may end up eating my words. I may end up eating my words this week too. But and again, that game's a long way down the road. So I'm leaving myself room to kind of change my prediction. But for this weekend, I feel pretty good about Texas winning by double digits this week.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jason, that I've pointed out, and I think it's key to bring up, would be right now, a long way to that game. Plus, the Aggies have not been trustworthy in November. They haven't been trustworthy in October and November. We got to see how they play from now on. Mm-hmm. The reminder I'll throw out is they've lost 4 out of their last 5 in Starkville, including 3 to an unranked team. So for everybody, everybody is immediately skipping over that and going to, well, they get LSU at home. Man, this is a super easy schedule for the Aggies. Take a breath, because the Aggies have not done well with the part of the schedule you think they should handle in the past. So especially me following I'm just going moment by moment by moment, because they have not been able to prove themselves late in seasons.
Well, I feel about the Aggies kind of the way I do about my Pittsburgh Steelers, right? They're good enough. They can give anybody a run for their money on their best day, right?
Right.
They play good defense. But they also have the capability of really laying a stinker against some bottom dwellers, okay, like a Mississippi State. Would it shock me if that game was really close?
No.
Or
not at all.
An upset at home? No, not at all. The Steelers, could they beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day? They could, because their defense is so good. Could they lose to the worst team on their schedule? Absolutely. When you have inconsistent quarterback play, every week is an adventure. So personally, that's a good analysis for me. I mean, I think A&M has a capability of being really good on any given week, but they also have a capability of being really subpar on any given week. Whereas Texas, I think Texas is going to be really good pretty much every given week.
And again, the Vegas folks think Texas is 15 points better than OU at least. That's where the line is right now, if you are thinking along those lines. Before we get out of here, there are a couple chats I wanted to hit. I just love this name, first of all. David Keith Williams. I hope they call you David Keith. I hope you make people call you David Keith, because I've never heard that combo, but I like it. The combination of Colin Simmons and Javion Hilson at weak side defensive end and Colton Vasek and Lance Jackson at strong side defensive end would give UT the best edges in the nation.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, they're in pretty good shape right now with the guys they've got. And listen, I think Smith Orogbo has tremendous upside too. I mean, they've got some really good players. I always say the cream will rise to the crop. We've seen that happen with Colin Simmons pretty early this year. But yeah, Hilson, Vosick, whenever he gets in there, he makes plays. So, Ethan Burke might be gone, I guess, by that time. And Lance Jackson, I think, has as much upside as maybe anybody on this Texas commitment list. I mean, he's right up there, I think, with some of even the Jonah Williams type. So, yeah, David Keith, I would agree with you, man. They're starting to stockpile some of those edge rushers. In today's day and age, you've got to have those dudes. I mean, you always have to have beef along the interior of the defensive line, right? But you've got to have those edge guys. That's where your pressure comes from in the passing game. And with more and more teams going to these wide open spread offenses, if you're not able to pressure the passer from the edge, you're going to be in for some long Saturdays. So it's good to see Texas I think they need to step it up a little bit on the interior of the defensive line recruiting, but coming off the edges, yeah, Texas has got it going on there and could add another big one in Javion Hilson.
Jason, speaking of this chat, the word Colin Simmons made me think of it. I'm going to give Catch a buy or sell later of 3+ sacks for Texas. Would you buy that or sell it
for this week?
This game, 3+.
Let me think about that for a second. Their offensive line, Oklahoma's not great.
A lot of different combos.
Yeah, they're going to start this will be the second week where they've started the same group. They've started a different combination every week. This week's going to be the same as when they played, I guess, Auburn. Okay. They do think this is their best combination. They've got 3 transfer starters. A mobile quarterback, you got to factor into that, but he's inexperienced, Chad. You know what? 3 or more, huh? You said 3 or more, or more than 3? 3 or more. Oh, yeah, I think they'll get 3. Will they get 4? Maybe not, but I think they'll get 3. If you just said 3.5, that would have been tough. But will they get 3? Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And just for the record, Nick says that I'm afraid to say OU will keep it close because I don't want Anwar to call me shallow or pedantic again. I did have to look up pedantic, Nick. That's fair. I do not.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. What is pedantic?
Yeah,
did Anwar use that word? Because if he did, he had to have used a thesaurus.
I know he did, and I looked it up, and now I've already forgotten what it means. So, Nick, I hope he doesn't call me that again. I'd have to look it up again.
I'm going to work pedantic into my next column.
That is not good. Yeah, ultimately, I think what I'm going to do this week is do what I should have done a little more of with the Michigan game is just really trust my eyes and really trust what I'm seeing. I was going on a lot of, okay, there's potential there for this. It could happen. And also, it was a true road game, but in this one, I'm just going to sit back and trust my eyes. And my eyes tell me Texas is a lot better than OU. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if they lose the running battle like they did last year, and if they go -3 in the turnovers like they did last year, guess what? They ain't going to blow OU out. It's going to be another close one, and we'll see. But I think Texas is going to handle it. I'm with you, Jason. I wouldn't be scared of that 15 right now. All right. Anything else we need to hit, Jason, before we close it up?
I'm looking at my 3-2-1. I had an update on a couple guys. Lance Jackson did visit the Arkansas game last week. We were talking about Lance a minute ago, the Texas defensive line commitment. His brother, of course, Landon Jackson, plays for Arkansas. I reached out to someone close to he wouldn't even mind me saying it's their dad. And I said, hey, I think I know the answer to this, but I said, I just want to write about Lance in my column. And he goes, dude, nothing to be worried about. He went up there with us as a family. He goes, in fact, he either wears all black or he wears his Pleasant Grove gear because he doesn't want anybody seeing him in Arkansas colors thinking, so yeah, he is his dad said he is 100% committed to Texas. We mentioned Dorian Brew. Kobe Sellers is a cornerback committed to A&M. Texas is talking to a little bit. I don't think there's a lot of traction there, but they'll keep talking to him. And then I had an update on Chris Stewart, who's a 2026 Texas commitment. Just came off a huge game, 2 punt return touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's got a lot of schools still talking to him. He seems really happy with his commitment. But as you're reading the 3-2-1, you just kind of read between the lines. He loves what's going on at Texas, but there's a lot of other schools talking to him, and he's not exactly ignoring them. So we'll keep an eye on that one moving forward. And then I had a couple other commitment predictions. I encourage everybody to look. I just went through position by position. I said, here's who Texas has. Here's whether or not I think they're going to add anybody and who they're going to add. And I put a couple other commitment predictions, and I feel pretty good about them. Dalen McCutcheon, the wide receiver out of Lovejoy, who we've talked about. He visited a couple weeks ago. He'll be back in Austin for the Georgia game. He's planning to be back for that Georgia game. I think Texas looks really good there. And then obviously Michael Terry, we've talked about a ton, the kind of jack of all trades athlete out of San Antonio. I like him to be in this Texas class as well, in addition to a couple of defensive linemen. So, we're kind of heading down the home stretch of recruiting for this 2025 cycle, but there's still some work to be done, still some predictions to be made, still some additions for this class. And I kind of went through who I think will be a part of this class in the 3-2-1 this week.
Also, Jason, just real quick before we get done, as a Cowboys fan to a Steelers fan, I was a bit crushed for you to see that
time for me to log off. Click no.
Yeah. That one of your daughters is considering one of the New York NFL teams. Now, you know that this is part your fault because you allowed her to be a Yankees fan, and clearly her brain has been infected. But I just want just maybe for between you and me, I hope she picks the Jets. I don't know what you're hoping for, but that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I put this up. Go Yankees, Suk. Yeah, definitely they play tonight, and my daughter, who's the big baseball fan down at Texas State, told me, hey, she's done with class on Thursday. She's going to drive up here just so she can watch the game with me. So, man, isn't sports amazing? Yes, well done. Sports is awesome, right? And my middle daughter is a big Steelers fan, so we watched the Steelers-Cowboys game. I let her stay up, Chad, till what? It was like after midnight. I don't even remember when the game ended. She had a test that next morning. This is how.
Oh God.
No, and I was like, hey. She goes, well, Dad, I can take the test after school. They don't care. I'm like, all right, just skip first period because her test was first period. So I was like, just skip first period, sleep in, take it after school. So it made some brownie points with that daughter. But yes, my oldest daughter, the Yankees fan, is she's gotten into football a little bit because she's gone to a couple Texas State games. She's gone to a couple UT games. And I said, okay, what Steelers gear do you want for Christmas? And she's like, no, that's too bandwagoning. I go, what? I go, it's not like you're choosing the Chiefs or the Cowboys even. But she goes, I'm going to pick a New York team because she's such a Yankees fan. So the Jets or the Giants. Like you, Chad, I advised her to pick the Jets.
Come on.
I was like, they're kind of lovable losers in a way.
They're scrappy.
Joe Namath.
Come on.
They got history. Their fan base is rabid, even when they're not good. And when they eventually get good, maybe it'll be this year. I don't think so, the way they're playing. But when they eventually get good, that fan base is going to be insane, right? So I'm still working on her to be a Steelers fan. I'm not giving up on that dream. But if it's going to be one of those two New York teams, I said I would probably lean towards the Jets, but we'll see what she does.
Especially if she's a Yankees fan, and I'm assuming does she root for the Longhorns as well?
Yeah, I would say moderately. She's not like a big Longhorns fan. Yeah,
she needs to pick the Jets so she can see how the other half lives, like experience sports through a little brother's eyes instead of always being with the big dog, blue blood, big brother team.
Yeah, that's good. Good point. Yeah. I mean, she loves the Yankees, which led her to New York. I took her to New York. We've talked about this a bunch back in April, and she just fell in love with New York. She texts me, and I'm not BSing, probably every day. I got one already this morning. Hey, Dad, we're running out of time to go watch a playoff game in New York. Here's these tickets I found. I'm like,
that's awesome.
I don't have the time or the money, but it's literally every day. Like, hey, Dad, it's not too late to book these New York tickets.
Here's all I'm saying, Jason. It sounds like there's definitely a good father-daughter trip coming up later. Steelers at Giants or Jets at MetLife.
Oh,
you're in the Steelers gear. She can wear whatever she wants, and y'all go hit NYC.
Dude, that sounds awesome. I will have to be checking future schedules because the Steelers played the NFC NFC East this year, right? So because they played Dallas already. So
that is true.
I don't think they play in New York against the Giants. I don't think I'd be able to go even if they did. But yeah, maybe in a year or two if they play the Jets or something.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty awesome.
There it is. There you go. And then another reason for her to pick the Jets. If she picks the AFC team, you get a better chance of that combo than you do with the Giants. There you go. All right. So sorry, just a quick fan father discussion. All right, so check out the 3-2-1 for that and all kinds of stuff, and a great side-by-side picture of another one of Jason's kids and how he freaked Jason out. 3-2-1 at orangebloods.com. It's always there for you each week, and once it's there, you want to check it out. War Room is coming up on Thursday night. We record this show on Wednesdays. Thursday nights is War Room night. We're talking War Room before Texas OU. You're going to want every little detail, including Anwar's latest on what he's hearing about Quinn Ewers. You got a little bit of that at orangebloods.com today. And again, that 3-2-1 is brought to you by Texas Card House. Come on out and join us. If you don't have a place to watch this game, you do now. It is Texas Card House, the TCH Austin location. Again, to reiterate, you don't need to be a member to just come watch the game with us. But as you see here, $1 monthly membership. Just mention Orange Bloods. You get a $1 monthly membership, and your first hour of play is on them. Plus those incredible beer specials I mentioned earlier. $1 draft, $2 jellyfish, and those specials start at $1.30. Come on out and see us. All right.
Binks just posted, and I just pulled up the Steelers play, and I can't make either of these work, but they play the Jets on Sunday, October 20th, and the next week on Monday Night Football, they play the Giants, and both of them are in Pittsburgh.
So that's both host. Okay, they host both of them. There you go.
Back-to-back weeks, they play both New York teams. So I'm gonna tease my daughter and say, hey, whoever you pick, they're going to get their ass kicked. So you be ready for it. So.
There you go. They're both going to come into to Hines and get blasted.
It's no longer Hines, AccuSure now or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's always Hines to me. Exactly. Our let's call it Three Rivers. We're old enough, Chad. We'll call it Three Rivers.
That's true. Yeah. Let's see. My father-in-law still says Three Rivers, and my wife can't do anything but say Hines. So she hasn't gotten that far yet to change the name. All right. Thanks everybody for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. House Divided comes up at 12. Football with Friends at 6 this afternoon. Texas OU week rolls on. Y'all have a great week. And hey, Texas by 15. We shall see. Recruiting hours back at 10 a.m. next Wednesday. And we'll talk about what happens in Dallas and look forward to that big Georgia weekend and who all is coming in. Y'all take care.